This is Off Track.
Well, me, here we are. This, I'm excited about this one.
I can't wait.
Cool. This is great. 6.5 hours to edit this. Should be fine. It's all right. I didn't need to sleep tonight.
Oh, come on, Tim. Nobody cares.
Tuesday's trivia night at Barney's, James.
So I'm doing you a favor by keeping you here longer.
Yeah.
That's less time you can spend at Barney's. Laura, you probably don't know Barney's in LA, nor should you. But
Barney's
Tim,
is like a store, like a big store, right?
No, that's Barney's in New York. That's a different Barney's, a more expensive Barney's.
Oh, okay.
This is a
one's
bar.
catching up.
Okay.
Well, you've spent a lot of money there. Guys, we're way off topic. Hello and welcome. Off Track with Hinch or Rossi today as we welcome a very, very special guest, a close personal friend of mine. She's the lead presenter for F1 TV's Formula One coverage, among many other things that we'll get into. Laura Winter, thank you for joining us.
James Hinchcliffe, thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful introduction.
That's actually, I think, the best one I've done. I don't even normally go into much with our guests. I just sort of say, and here's John.
It's a low bar. It's a low bar.
It is a low bar. It is a low bar.
I'm honored you took the time. And also it's hilarious because we're both in the same hotel, but just different rooms, different floors. And I was like, oh, cool, we can do it together. And you wouldn't let me.
Yeah, she was very upset because I asked her to do the show and she's like, oh my God, I'd love to do it. It'd be great. And then we had to delay it because of some technical issues on the internet. Not even our fault.
Because Amazon just shut down the world. Yeah.
Like the internet went down, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't great. And then, I was like, yeah, so you could just, she goes, oh, so where are we going to do it? We do you want to do it in your room? Or do it in the lobby? Where do you want to do it? I'm like, oh no, we got to be separate for this. And she was quite upset, Tim.
Yeah.
I can't say I relate. I wouldn't want to spend more time with James because I feel like you guys just spent a whole weekend together in Texas. And then you usually get a little downtime to get away from each other before the next race, but now not at all, right?
We sat next to each other on the plane here. We are going to finish this podcast and go straight to dinner together.
Correct. Yeah. I can't get enough, James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
I get it. She's delightful.
My work wife. She's my work wife, basically. But yes, so we are in Mexico. We are just off the back of the USGP, which was a heck of a weekend, heck of a race. But I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit and get into the history, if you will, of Laura Winter, because I'm sorry for the people listening where this has been a bit repetitive, but we've had a couple people on lately talking about. With this swell in interest in motorsports, there's been a massive interest in people wanting to get into it in any capacity or all capacities, I should say. And I've heard you kind of go through this a little bit, and I think you've got a really interesting take on it. And I'd love to kind of get into it. So before we get into motorsports and F1 specifically, where did your start in broadcasting come from? Was this always the goal? Did we go to school for it? Or did you, like me, retire from a sport and they just gave you a microphone?
I wasn't good enough to kind of be a retired athlete, pundit type thing. No.
But you were an athlete.
I was an athlete. Yes, I was. I swam competitively for 12 years. And then I rowed competitively at university. And I kind of married all of that in with a love of English and theatre studies, darling. Drama. Which there will be no surprise to you, I'm sure.
It explains a lot.
Yeah. And so I guess the career I've carved out is kind of a combination of all of those, like my love of sport and not just doing sport and competing, but also watching so much sport on telly. I just lived for the Olympics, Wimbledon, Six Nations, Rugby World Cup, Football World Cups. I was just watching sport all the time. And so I kind of, when I left university, thought, well, how can I make talking about sport my career? That's what I want to be doing. And I just didn't, and as so many people now say, there's no set path, so you don't quite know what to do.
Right.
And I didn't really want to fork out a load more money to go and get a master's degree in broadcasting. Perhaps hindsight, it would have been worth it and I'd have paid it back and whatever. But at the time, I got a job working in comms and social media for an international sports federation. And that took me out to a lot of international sports events. It took me to the Olympic Games. it got me mixing with kind of all the right people. So while it wasn't specifically presenting, it got me experience working in international sports settings with production companies, with international media. And so you just get contacts from doing that, and you make connections and network and whatever else. I also started doing like a little bit of sport presentation just after that job. So sport presentation being kind of like the big screens at sporting venues.
Right.
So you're like stadium presenter or pitch side presenter. And that was a really good place for me to start, because you are already taught the basics of like, here's your microphone, here are your ears, here's your talk back, here's your cue, you're live, but with not much consequence if things go wrong. You're exposed. And obviously at the time, being so green and new, you feel exposed massively, but you're nowhere near as exposed as if you're suddenly put on F1 TV with no
tens
experience.
of thousands of people rather than millions of people. It's a slightly different stakes.
Exactly. And where people can take... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm just excited because never have the opportunity to do this. We should just talk about crew for the rest of this interview. I didn't know you rode. I rode. We can just ignore James.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know if you can tell. I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
I was obviously a coxswain. But now we can just...
So much of this.
So I was a lightweight rower, which meant I had to be under a certain weight.
I was not.
Yeah, no, I am not. I mean, I am 6 months pregnant, so I am not anymore. But there is no way that I could ever even get close to the weight I was at. It was kind of crazy. But lightweight double, lightweight pair. And then I sat in the 8 with like the big girls, but they'd always put me at 2.
I'm sure they loved when you called them that.
Well, I didn't mean that.
No,
do you know what I mean? Like the
gotcha.
taller, stronger, better women at rowing than me. And they just stick me at 2 and I just tap it along at the back, like hoping for the best.
I love it. We actually probably shouldn't, although I know 2 people listening that would love this. Jackson and my old rowing coach, Tony, listen to every episode. So shout out to those guys. But we could stop talking about rowing now.
Rowing is incredible. And James, sorry, please. Rowing is amazing. And honestly, when you have those mornings where you're in your single and you're rowing down the river and like it's just you and you just see nature and wildlife and sunrise, it is glorious. Yeah, I loved it.
As much as I love learning about your sporting past, Laura, as much as I hate to give Tim any opening to contribute more in this show, I do have to say that exchange was good for me to hear, because I now understand how Aunt Linda feels. And Aunt Linda is what we say when we get too inside baseball on a broadcast about motorsports, and I'm just talking in motorsports terms that you just know so well, but you forget that people who don't follow racing wouldn't know this. I literally understood nothing outside of the fact that you guys rode. None of the terminology made any sense to me. I feel like Aunt Linda, and it was a nice moment to kind of be on the other side of it.
You didn't get Cox? Would you like to learn about the term bisweptual? Do you want to know how to catch crabs?
Yeah, would you like to catch a crab?
Is that a common thing that happens to bisexuals?
Yep.
It is, in fact, yeah.
I would say so.
Anyway.
Because they play both, like they go both ways, right? So
yeah.
Okay.
You sweep from either side of the boat.
Yeah, you swing both
You're
ways.
Oh, sorry,
bisexual.
We're still on the boat? Anyway.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm flustered.
So I started off doing sports presentation.
In the stadiums. And where do we go from there?
And then I moved so I started doing work experience as well at the same time. So I was getting lots of like very low pay jobs or work experience jobs. I'd moved back home at this point from the Federation. Yes, James.
So sorry, when you were doing the arena stuff, what sports were they? Like, were they sports
Netball.
you knew anything about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I started off in netball, and I'd done netball at school. You get to know sports as well. So yeah, I kind of was learning a lot on the job and did a fair bit of prep leading up to it too.
So did you ever have to cover a sport at that level that you hadn't followed previously?
Well, I guess like netball didn't have the coverage that it certainly has now and doesn't.
But did you
even
play
have
it?
as much?
Did you ever play it?
Oh, I was in the C team at school. We
So at
once
least
got beaten like 31-0.
What is netball? Is that a term I should
basketball.
know? Oh, okay.
It's actually one of the most amazing sports, and I appreciate this is a very British thing. So most most schoolgirls around who are now probably in their mid-30s in the UK would have played hockey or netball at school. And
Field hockey.
Yes, not ice. We don't have ice in the UK. We do, but it's not like we play on the... Anyway, so netball is... so it's mostly... I presume it's mostly women who play. I guess there are probably men who can play, but it's mostly a female sport. And basically it's basketball, but you can't run or dribble with the ball. And there are zones that you're allowed in and not allowed in depending on your position. And you can do like a 2-step to throw, to pass. And it's non-contact, but my God, the contact is ridiculous. It's so fast, so athletic, so powerful. It's amazing. I love it. So good. Oh. Yeah.
I know what Tim's going to be Googling later tonight.
Oh, and they're all Amazonian goddesses as well. They're like 6'2", so strong, incredible
didn't need
women.
More reason to Google, but you know. So did you ever have to? So because you played netball, so at least you understood the fundamentals. So did you ever have to cover something, or what was the first time you had to cover something that was completely foreign to you? Like you knew nothing. You knew as much about that sport as I know about rowing.
Okay. Rallycross.
Okay.
So motorsport, which is kind of hilarious because that's where I now basically live.
So was that your first motorsport? Was Rallycross?
So I'll kind of fast forward through the story. So I did 2 years on a sports desk doing as a trainee sports journalist, and then I went freelance as a presenter, but I had like 3 clients, not even, horribly paid, and I earned £40 in my first month. So it wasn't like the blistering start to a burgeoning career as a presenter, as perhaps you'd expect. But I just slowly and steadily built it up from there. I worked a lot in cycling. I worked netball, tennis, swimming. I just kind of worked all the sports that I knew well. Athletics, football, rugby. And it kind of like shifted from sort of streaming and sport presentation to more TV as the years went on. And then in 2019, that's when motorsport came along. And I was asked to present 4 rounds of the World Rallycross Championship. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Signed the contract and then was like, what is Rallycross? I had no clue. Like I'd never worked in motorsport. I'd never seen it as a sport that I would be involved in. Not because I didn't like it, but I just didn't know. And so, yes, Rallycross was the sport. Motorsport is that sport.
So this is perfect. So I've always wondered, because I've seen other presenters and other commentators and people that I really admire in the TV world bounce around to different things. Like I've done exactly 3 different series, 2 of which I've raced in the past, and the other one I've followed since I was a kid. So like,
and you did dancing.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I did have to learn that one, but I didn't have to. Yeah, that's okay. That's interesting. But I've never, on the TV side, had to really work anything I had kind of zero knowledge of. So how did you go about preparing yourself to go on air and lead a show about a sport about which you knew very little?
Lots of YouTube. So I watched lots of past races. I love, you know this, Hinch, about me. I love prep and notes and like diving into a topic. So I was a complete nerd and researched. So I watched a lot of it. I watched the format of how the shows I was going to be in would run. I watched the general like sporting format of how a weekend would go. I saw and researched the athletes, the drivers who are going to be racing. But you're right. There's only so much you can actually prepare before. There are some things you just don't know, like terminology you don't know. The amount of times I called drivers riders because I was so used to working in cycling. Crazy. But I was very lucky that I had Andrew Coley, who's the commentator on Rallycross. He kind of took me under his wing, showed me the paddock, taught me everything, like took me right back to basics. No ego, no agenda, just helped me so much. And that was so useful. And such a gracious, generous, friend to have to do that, because he didn't have to, like, he didn't owe me anything, but he wanted the show to be a success, and he wanted me to to be able to be successful as well. So that was, so I remember the first broadcast, I was using words like blue groove and green track and evolution and all these concepts that like I now understand and I'm so used to using and understand the impact of them. But at the time I was just like, that sounds right, I'll say that. And then I'll kind of understand it afterwards.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, to an extent, but I'm always somebody who I would hate to go into a sport and not do it justice and not give it the respect, the recognition, and the drivers the recognition they deserve. So I'd hate to go in and just kind of mess about and do it in a half-assed way. So yeah, I was really keen on understanding everything I possibly could. And then part of the job was just interviewing drivers. And I say just interviewing drivers, but that for me is having a conversation with a human being. And sometimes the best interviews are down to the simplest questions. What happened? Why did it happen? How are you going to be better next time? Or what did you learn? Those kind of how, why, what, where questions are sometimes the basics and the template to work from.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your preparation skills and approach, firsthand. So I believe that, you put a lot of work into doing that first one. And then from there, I mean, I kind of look back now and Formula One, Rallycross, F1 Academy, Extreme, what's the boat one? Sorry.
E1.
E1. So
yeah, I've only done a couple of those. Only done like a couple of those. Yeah, they needed a presenter to fill in, and I was available, kind of thing.
But now several different types of motorsports, including the pinnacle of the sport in Formula One. How did that opportunity come about?
So it came from Rallycross, and this I think is something that the kind of advice I'd always give is you never know who's looking, who's watching. You never know what job, what one moment, one opportunity can lead to. And so the director on the Rallycross was a chap called Steve Flello, who is one of our camera operators on F1. So he's worked with Formula One management for years. And he said to me, F1 are actually looking for new presenters and kind of like widening the pool. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah. Like at this point, I'm loving motorsport. I feel really at home in a paddock. I feel like weirdly like I should always have been there. Strange, because I didn't have any right to be, but I just felt like it was my place.
Yeah.
And so I said, yes, jumped at the chance, crack on, yeah. And then I had what I thought was going to be a bit of a meeting / kind of audition / interview. And it was like a phone call, and it was, can you do Belgium? In 2019. And I was like, yes. And that was it. And then suddenly I'm on my way to Spa, one of the greatest racetracks in the world. And I remember it was a mid-season driver switch as well. So Pierre Gasly had been taken out of Red Bull. Alex Albon had been put in. It was, there was so much going on. And then it was ultimately and tragically a very, very sad weekend because we lost Antoine Hubert as well. So I kind of saw firsthand the best and the absolute worst of motorsport all in one.
You had to deal with that your very first weekend?
That was my first race, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. I was in the pit lane during the F2 race as well, reporting. So my first time in a pit lane. It was, but it felt very for me, I felt like I was massively intruding on Grief because I just stepped into the paddock and didn't know, I didn't know the people. I didn't know Antoine, very sadly. So
that is heavy.
Yeah.
That is heavy because
it was
there's
a
nothing
tough
you can do really
weekend.
to prepare for that, right? I mean, there's you can't practice that kind of thing. You can rehearse an opening, you can, practice talking through a countdown and trying to hit the post, but there's, dealing with.
You can learn terminology, but nothing prepares you for a death. So stays with you that one for sure.
You parlay that. You obviously do a good job because 2019 in Belgium was not your last Formula One race.
It was not.
And
spoiler alert.
And now you fast forward to 2025 and you are the face of F1 TV. You are the lead presenter. It's your show. And this is during a time where the sport is absolutely blowing up globally. It's in an especially, sharp trajectory upwards in North America. And now you walk around cities and get recognized as the Laura Winter from F1 TV. Could you have predicted, or would you ever have thought in Belgium in 2019 that this is where, things could have gone?
No, never. I'm so genuinely humbled and grateful for it. It blows me away every time. It's crazy. It's so funny because I live a really normal, simple life at home where like people may know of me because I live in a town where people know that I live in that town, and kind of what I do. But I live a very lovely, like, simple life where I get coffee and walk the dog and go to the gym and then you come to a racetrack and it's this entirely different environment. So you kind of have to, there's almost like two different versions of yourself in a way. But I could never, ever have imagined it in a million years. All I wanted to do, and genuinely all I still want to do, is do a better job than the weekend before. So I just want to continue to get better and better and better at my job, to create better shows, to enhance the coverage, to work with a team, to tell the stories. That's my goal for always, is just to be a better presenter. And I think I've got the personality of somebody who, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. Nothing's quite ever good enough. But that kind of is the drive that keeps you going. I think if I didn't have that, you perhaps wouldn't hit the standards that I want to hit,
Yeah, and again, it's that athlete mentality, and it kind of leads me to this next question, which I'm fairly certain I know the answer to, but some big news this week on the Formula One side and the television side in terms of Apple getting the rights in the United States for Formula One.
Yeah.
And I know there's still some details to come out, but essentially, you're going to be presenting now in front of a potentially much bigger audience with a name like Apple behind it.
Yeah.
Do you like this? I mean, that adds pressure, that adds stress, that adds eyeballs, it adds, importance to the whole thing. Is that a kind of pressure that you relish and thrive under, or are you a little bit like biting the fingernails a bit about it?
No, I'm a bit sick.
I think it's a competitor. I think you naturally love that. So this was good news for you.
Yeah, exactly. There's always those moments where you're like, this is a really big show. Like the US pre-race show, for example, there are going to be so many people watching that one. There are certain races in the year which have more viewers. There's certain shows where that certain people could be watching and there's more pressure. I'm quite sick and I love it. Like I love putting myself under that kind of pressure. Obviously, in the moment, you're like, okay, this feels uncomfortable. And there probably was a time where I remember when I was swimming when I was a kid, I used to get so nervous that I'd be like, I'd rather be anywhere else. I'd want to do it, but I would have these moments where I'm like, I'd rather be anywhere else in the world right now than standing on this block about to swim. And that obviously that didn't lead to a very good performance because your head's not in it. But now with presenting, I'm at this point where I'm like, the bigger the pressure, I love it. Yeah, I relish it. I thrive under it. I always kind of like have to be put under that pressure to bring out some of my best or better work.
Yeah. I feel the same way in the sense that there's something about live television as well that is such a rush. Like there's a high there that I don't think you would get in something that was scripted or you had time to reshoot. Have you done much? I mean, scripted is the wrong thing. You're not an actor necessarily, but
like the pre-recorded stuff, like pre-records and or shows that are highlight shows, for example. So you're kind of like pre-recording links.
Right.
No, you don't get you don't get the adrenaline rush. And I guess, but Hinch, for you, it must be interesting because you've come from like the biggest adrenaline rush in the world, which is racing cars, into live broadcasting. And I'm guessing there's probably quite a few crossovers and parallels that you can draw, and the feelings may be probably not quite so similar, but the feelings may be similar in sense of that, like that nervous energy, the adrenaline. When I come off the grid and we've like nailed the show, done a great wrap, I'm like pumped.
You're amped.
I'm so amped. And if it's like a big show, I can be like shaking with adrenaline. Like I love it so much. It's like a drug. It is and it's the kind of feeling of like never quite nailing it. There's always something. I'm like, that could have been better. I liked that, but I could have done it this way that keeps you kind of coming back for more. But
Yeah.
also that feeling of the adrenaline and the achievement and a show coming together, or a moment where perhaps something's kind of like could be going really wrong, but you kind of bring it back save it from the brink. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
It's an addictive feeling.
If people could see some of the chaos that happens off screen, behind the, during shows, like running orders completely changing, guests canceling, like having to pivot and improv in the moment there. And when you nail that, it feels so good. It is like a drug, right? There's a lot of parallels. You're right. Between this, the stakes are high, but in a different way, because whereas, obviously there's a safety implication if you get something wrong when you're driving, that there's millions of people watching you do this thing and you don't have a chance to redo it. The red light goes on and you have your block of time until the red light goes off, and you can't redo any of it. And it's cool. I love working with you in those scenarios because I think we've got a similar energy in that sense. I think we both obviously thrive on it in the same way. And even when it's manic, we can, buckle down when we need to, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of this being like a drug, this is actually an intervention. We care about you a lot. It's you're getting too into racing.
Yeah, we're gonna ask you to sit the next one out.
Okay. I'm not doing Brazil, unfortunately.
Well, that's actually by design, Laura. We told you that was your decision, but
and guys, you're lucky. I'm going to be missing a few next year. Obviously, when I welcome baby. So
yes, and congrats on that.
Which will be a whole other drug of some sort. I don't know what kind of drug experience that'll be, but that will be obviously
an exhausting
its own
one.
thing. Yes. Thank you.
So we'll I know we're running out of time, so we'll wrap it up. But I think you brought it up, and I think a lot of people are wondering. They're curious. You've obviously announced your pregnancy, and would love to know kind of what the plan is with, as far as or what the goal is. I don't know how much you're allowed to share in terms of.
Will you name the baby James?
The baby's middle name is going to be James. We've already established that.
We haven't. We discussed it earlier, and I told you it wasn't, but that's okay. Maybe it's Tim.
It's a working name. It's a working middle name. Yeah.
Working on it. We're working on it. All right. Can I throw Tim in the ring?
No.
Tim's. Well, I'll put Tim in there. I'll put Tim in. I will see. Yeah, we'll see. We have a name that we had decided on, but we're trying another name for size.
Yes,
just to see.
I like this idea. You're telling me about this concept, and just sort of
just to see how it sounds if I'm like screaming up up the stairs.
The important thing you also have to remember is you got to go through all the potential like bad nicknames that awful kids could give it, right? So you got to really put your mind into a dark place and think of what could I call this kid?
How mean can I be to my own baby?
Realize how many people you really don't like.
Yes, people.
You're like, well,
I know one of those. I know an
that.
Alex. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I actually knew a really horrible Tim. I'm not going to go with Tim.
That's fair. It was
so
probably
do I.
me.
So do I.
But no, the plan. Wish I knew. I think no. Look, obviously, you kind of have to plan. There's an element of planning, but also knowing that plan could change. And I don't know what I don't know, right? This is my first baby. We have no idea how hard it's going to be, how wonderful it's going to be, how magical it's going to be. I don't know how that may change how I feel about certain things. I do know right now that I have every intention of coming back to work. A lamp just turned on in the room. Sorry, it was like a ghost was in here. I have every intention of coming back to work, kind of looking at within kind of 3 months after baby arrives. There may be mums out there listening going, she's got no idea. But that's the vague plan. But obviously, not in my nature to. I do love a plan and I love being in complete control of my own plans. Very open to it changing and realizing that, the other things may happen and they're out of my control and kind of going with the flow with that.
It's kind of like live TV. It's just live human.
Live human.
Once that light turns on, it's on, and things are going to change, and you just gotta, improvise in the moment, and off you go. Well, that's very cool. It's very exciting. It is. inspiring. I mean, I sit there and I don't obviously see a fraction of it, but the number of people that I see coming up to you and telling you how much of an inspiration you are to them, it's awesome. It's very cool to see. I mean, you have a very important role that has a lot of impact on a lot of people, and I think you carry that well. And there's a responsibility there, and I think you handle it super well. And it's a real pleasure to kind of have you on the show and get you sharing some of that story with us.
Thank you so much. I owe you dinner after that. Crikey. Thanks.
I think I owe you dinner for having drawn out having you on this podcast over the last 28 hours. But
no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. And yeah, I really appreciate it, James. It's wonderful to work with you on F1 TV.
Likewise. Thank you for everything you've done to teach me over the years. It's been a blast. And look forward to doing it this weekend.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.